Okay, today I'm going to explain mixing colors for skin tones. I have a violet, cadmium red, light green, yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, olive green, Indian yellow, transparent red on oxide, and titanium white. Okay, my brushes are a mop brush, a flat brush, a round brush, an angled brush, a small palette knife, a large palette knife, a large angled brush, and a small brush. So I'll be using a mixture of these. When I mix my colors, I always use my palette knife, never my brushes. If you use a brush, you get it up into the ferrule. It's hard to get out, and pretty soon your brush gets hard and it starts working its way down. Pretty soon you just have a little bit of brush at the end. So, I will move those out of the way. Right here I have a tub of mineral spirits. It's odorless, so it doesn't stink up the room. I'm going to make my dark mud first, which is alizarin crimson. I'm going to make it over here in the corner. Olive green. And Indian yellow. What I'm looking for is a real dark mixture of brown. So if it looks too red, you need more green. That looks too red. Make sure that it's really mixed together well before you make that assessment. Push your palette knife down into the paper to make sure there isn't anything stuck up at the top. It's still pretty red, so I'm going to add some more green to calm it down more to the brown, because red and green are complementary colors and they should make a brown. That's better. A little bit more. And if you use it all, there's always more in the tube. Hopefully. Okay, so you want a little bit of this set off to the side with some medium in it to keep it moist and fluid so that it doesn't get cakey or sticky. Okay, now I'm going to take my dark mud and I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to add transparent red on oxide. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm going to add light green. I'm going to add a little bit less of red because it will take over. I'm going to add a little bit of violet. These are your colors that are going to be in your portrait. But what you're going to do is you're going to mix them all together. So you're like, you're making mud. Yes, I'm making mud. This is going to be my light mud. So once I get it all mixed together, again, push down with your palette knife in the back so that you know that all the colors are mixed together. Because if it's not, see how it's lighter than the dark mud? Still not light enough. I'm going to add a little bit of white in a minute. I'm going to move my mineral spirits over here so I got more of my palette to work with. Oops. Take a little bit of white, add it to your light mud. Okay, so you guys can see the difference. I know this is flat. You can see that the light mud and the dark mud, there's a big difference. But I'm still keeping my paints separate over here as much as I can while I'm doing my mixing so that I can grab from them to add more. I'm going to take this and stretch it out all the way across. I want to get it pretty even. going to push it up a little bit because I want to be able to make at least 6 values out. I'm going to separate it into at least 6 different color possibilities. Separate that. Put that right there. Okay, now by separating it out, I mean here's one pile, here's another pile, there's pile 3, 4 and 5, and there's 6. Scrape them again just to capture that little bit that's left over. Which one is the smallest one? Kind of caught between these two. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of my medium and I'm going to drop it into my mud. And all this is going to do is give the consistency of the paint a little bit more fluidity. You can always add more to your brush as you go if you need to, but just a little drop into each one of these should do it. Okay, scrape this as clean as I can get it. I'm going to save it up here so I can always grab it later. Okay, with the warm and cool, what you're going to do is you're going to pull from here. Okay, so I'm going to leave one, the regular brown. I'm going to take white, a little bit of white, and I'm going to leave some of the dark, pull out about 3/4 of this and add it to my mixture of light mud. And then I'm going to keep doing that until I get at least 6 values. The more the better. You can always pull more white into your color mixtures as you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's enough for now. Scrape off the extra there. And then I'm going to start with the cools because that's where you're going to start. I'm going to add blue to this pile. I'm going to leave a little bit on the end. And I'm going to mix it real good so that there's no... This is a time where you really want to mix your colors together. You don't want them to dance between each other, so that you can see your skin tones real clearly. That's a lot of blue. That's okay because that'll make a great gray color for shadows and cool areas on the face. And I add a little bit of white to half of that. You guys can see how it turns into like a gray color. And then I'm going to add more white. Add more white. Add more white. And you notice how it gets lighter as you go down because you're pulling from part of the one before and you're adding more paint to it so you're not losing your paint amounts as you're going down. Okay, and your medium is already in your paint. So you're ready to go. Now if any of these colors get into any of this mixture, it's okay because they're already in there. You don't need to worry about, oh, I got a little bit of the blue in this pile and that kind of stuff. Okay, green would be another cool color. I'm going to use the brighter green. The olive green tends to be a little dark and not show up real well. I'm going to leave... First I'm going to mix it together and then leave a little bit at the top. This is not a very big palette. I wish my palette was about twice as big because then I could mix out a little more values and spread them out. It's easier when you have them spread out. Okay, now this green happens to be like semi-transparent, so because of that I'm going to need to use a little bit more of that green in with my mud color in order for the green to show up when I add the white. The goal of this is when you add the white, it gives you those skin tones that you see in the portraiture. And all these colors are in skin tones. It's not just brown and white. Add a little bit of white and start going down. There's a hint of green in there. And I'll hold up the palette so you can see it real good at the end once I get these all mixed together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's more white to this one. Okay, now I'm going to go on to the warm colors, starting with the yellow ochre. I'm going to mix it into the whole thing. Notice I'm leaving the darker areas still open, making sure that my medium gets mixed in with my paint so it's fluid, but not runny. You don't want it runny and you don't want to be glazing with it. You want it to be fluid, but not drippy. Push down with the back of the palette again, like I said before. I'm going to use some more on this one. So you came to college to learn to make mud. They're really very beautiful colors once you get the whites in there and start pushing the colors when you're doing your portraits. And let's start adding the white to this one. And you'll see the difference between the colors once the white's added. It's harder to see it when they're in the dark value, but easier to see it once the white is added. You see the gold tones in this one. Running out of palette space. It's okay. Got my values. Okay, so we've got green. No. The what?
Yellow ochre.
Yellow ochre was this one. Brown, green, yellow ochre. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the red and then the violet. So I'm going to scrape this off again. This is always something I can pull from. Use a little bit of red because red takes over. You're going to see it turn red real fast, even though I use just a little bit. And you don't want it to be bright, bright red. You want it to be kind of pinkish. And that little bit of red took over real fast. I can see it on the palette, so I'm going to make sure that I'm mixing it really well. And if it's too red, I can pull this brown down into it, which I'm going to do so it's not too pink. Because all those colors are already in what I'm doing. Okay, add a little bit of white. I need more white. Almost done. It takes about 20 minutes to mix your colors. If you're in acrylic, you want to mix your cool colors first and apply them to your painting, and then mix your warm colors second, so that you don't have dry paint that's warm at the end. Take some more white. I'm really running out of space. Okay, I can always add to that later. I'm going to bring this pile over here because I have more room. I'm just going to scoop it and wipe it. Grab my violet, add it to my brown mixture. Violet's a very important cool color. It's kind of cool or warm. It's kind of in between, depending on how you use it and how strong your violet is. There's light violets, dark violets. It's also a semi-transparent color, so you might need more of it with your brown to get it to show. Mix it good. Press down. Grab some white. Scoop a bunch of it up. Keep adding it as you go down. Now this color would be like in the shadows under your chin, under your eyes, by your ears. Another mixture I like to do is, and it's not on your sheet, is to take the alizarin crimson, a little bit of your green, which I know you already did, and it can have a little bit of white in it, it's okay. A little more Indian yellow than you used in the dark mud. Add a little bit of white to that, and you get a really nice color for lips, cheeks, reflected light up under the chin, etc. And you can have like 3 or 4 values going out from that. So there's your palette. You see over there?
That last palette, you said it was alizarin, crimson, sap green, and which color?
Indian yellow. And more Indian yellow than in the dark mud. The dark mud's right here, and you can still pull from that when you're laying down your cool colors if you need to. Okay?
Mm-hmm.